I would be so interested to know, based on your experience, what's the brass tacks of it, dude? Does selling, what does it actually take to sell compliantly as a high ticket business? And does it hurt conversions? Break down how you see that.
Yeah, 100%. Great question, Richard. And I'll actually say this, and Anik will appreciate me saying this. You know, the thing that messed with my mind the most when I got that exposure right when I was coming into the coaching space, I knew the people that were sued, and they were good people. And that was like so much of the time I hear even clients today of like, well, we have integrity. We have the best intentions. We have good fulfillment, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, yeah, but so does everybody I've ever known that's been sued directly. I know there's some bad actors out there for sure, but the ones that I knew, they were good people. And I'm like, how did this even happen? That doesn't seem. So I had this fear surrounding me where I was like, all right, we got to dive into this. It's much, much more than just wanting to help people and having solid fulfillment. Right. So that's what it isn't. What it is, and I'm not going to have a way to give like a blanket term on what is compliance, but the biggest thing that I've seen it comes down to, and Anik, this is maybe where we'll get into it. You'll challenge me because you have a much bigger perspective. But I would say earnings is the biggest, right? Is that fair? Implied earnings, express earnings, basically selling something in a way that is attached to a financial outcome. There is so much more to compliance, but to me, I have seen that is the biggest one. That is the biggest one. And so if you're promising results and you're selling something not based on what it is and what it can do for somebody, but you're selling based on this, results, and that's the reason they're buying it, the FTC really does not like that. Now, again, we could get into last dollar rule, right? We could get into just straight up lying and misrepresentations and making sure your claims are substantiated. There's so many other parts to it, but that is probably the biggest one that I see and the one that we focus on the most. What would you say to that, Anik?
Yeah, 100%. So in rating order, earnings stuff, they just despise it. And if you live in that world long enough, you get it, you understand it, right? So my reaction to some of the rules that the FTC has 3 years ago was repulsive, angry. This is stupid. The government's stupid. And now that I feel like I'm looking at the matrix from the outside, and I look at the bad apples in the industry, I actually am in alignment with it. I'll say something to the tune of, I'm like, you know what? It is actually kind of bullshit to be on the phone with someone you don't know and to within a matter of minutes try to decipher the fact that they will be able to get XYZ result. We wouldn't do that in any other business. If I walked into a Ferrari dealership and the guy's like, look, man, if you buy this Ferrari, you're going to win the Grand Prix. I would laugh that person in the face and walk out. Now, I walk into a dealership and they say it's a really fast car. You can go fast. I'll be like, okay, cool. That's a claim, but it's backed up, substantiated, proven record. Like, I can go fast if I choose to. So earnings, absolutely. But it really goes even one level above that, which is the same thing you're saying is just, it's a claim. You are saying that something can do something. So what I try to tell everybody is, how do you feel when someone tells you something? Like, it's like my car mechanic telling me how to heal my Crohn's disease, right? He's like, hey, listen, man, there's this pill will do it. And I'm just like, how are you telling me that? Like, you are not credible to it. And what evidence do you have? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've never met anyone with Crohn's that it's healed. But then why are you saying that? It's the dumbest thing you can do, right? I had a company come to me this happened last week. It's a nutraceutical company. They're trying to raise money. That great pitch. Like, they got me on the phone. I don't usually, right? And so they're like, oh, this thing can do following. This replaces XYZ Pharma, which I'm like, whoa, easy there, Tiger. Like, you just, don't say that. Really, please. Like, that's worse. But then I just said, this is awesome. Like, so when did you guys do the study? How many people were part of the study? This and that. Like, because they're making such a bold claim. Right. He's like, oh, we're still looking for the university that, we need the money to do the study. I'm like, hold on. So you haven't done the study? No. How the hell do you know that this works? well, in
Right.
theory, practicality wise, it impacts this part of the body, and that would do this and that would do that. And I said, okay, I understand that, but it's a big claim to make without backing, right? And so my reaction to that was so repulsive. And I'm like, well, that's what the regulator is hearing when they're listening to the call. And so
Absolutely.
you can say whatever the hell you want. I tell people this: you can say whatever you want. The FTC doesn't say there's no line, statement, sentence, words that they say you can't say. There's no such thing. They just say whatever the hell you say, you better have inarguable evidence backing it up.
Right.
And most never do, and hence that's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to your question, Richard, you were talking about how are you building sales teams while keeping these subjects in mind. Well, I'll tell you the number one thing that I think that people make the mistake of. And when I say people, I'm saying like business owners, sales leaders. They meet it with resistance. As Anik mentioned, he was previously in the past, right? They meet it with resistance. And I think that the first thing, which is really kind of true to anything in sales leadership and in the business, is you have to get buy-in on something. And I think that, so for example, we have trainings on FTC compliance. And let me tell you what it isn't. It isn't saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and we'll fire you if it happens, right? Now, we make the consequences clear, but what it actually does is it educates them on the type of business we want to be, the reason these things are important, and it sells them, our team, on the fact that, like, because I believe this, and I know we're going to get to this, I believe that we are in a trust deficit right now. Trust is at an all-time low. I believe if you have the skill sets to sell compliantly, it actually can be more effective because people appreciate it. Because I think that people can feel it when you're just selling them a bunch of crap and you're overselling, you're overpromising. It triggers sales resistance because it triggers an experience that they've already had before. The reality is, in 2020, 2019, I've been in the coaching space for a while. I know Anik has too. Like, you guys are OGs in the space. Now in 2020, what's interesting is most people you talk to, maybe it was the first thing they were buying in the coaching space. Nowadays, every other call or more has bought something and has had a bad experience with it. So I think that people kind of not correcting can actually even present some more damage to them. But it all starts with buy-in and showing them like how we could do those things, how we could feel good about it, and how we could actually help it enable our sales instead of the opposite.
Can I just say one thing? Amen. That's all I got to say to that. Compliant marketing works better in so many ways.
Of course. People
believe compliance kills a sale. I believe that. Through the point where I was going through investigation, I was forced to market compliantly. Now they've told me while I'm under investigation, just FYI, we're watching everything you do. So, right. And I'm doing it begrudgingly, and I'm not excited about it. Then I start to do more and more of it, and I start to get better, right? It forces you to get better at how you sell, so that you're not selling it on the results, but that you're selling it on the methodology, the systems, what you deliver, the person's inner belief patterns, and you start to get really good at, no, not for you, right? I just had a call, I had a voice note with someone today who wants to come to the Expert Summit, and they have come before. They had come to the first one. And the first one, I did my pitch for Board of Experts. They pulled me aside. I've known them for 10 years. And they pulled me aside, and they're like, hey, is this right for me? And there's the two Oniks. Richard likes to say there's the two Oniks, okay? There is the sales Onik that's like, is it right for you? Give me your damn credit card. Let's go. And that's the Onik that probably was there for quite some time. Then there's the other Onik that's like, no, it just isn't. I don't know how to, it just isn't. It's not right. Like, I got to walk away from this big check. But I looked them dead in the eyes and I said, hey, man, I love you, but this isn't for you. This isn't right for you. It's not going to help your business. And I'm so glad you're here. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, and he was ready. Had I said, yes, this is for you, that's all I had to say. His card was actually in his hand. Can you imagine? Right. And he was like, I just needed to hear from you. But he's telling me, I trust you. Whatever you say, I'll do. And I know it's not. And I said, no. That was in 2022. We just had a voice note conversation where he wants to come to the next expert summit. And he's like, should I come? I respond to him and I said, you know what? Interestingly enough, not only should you come, I'd like to revisit that conversation that we had about the board of experts, because of the evolution we've had. I actually believe it's perfect for you now. And you know his response to me? I'm in.
I'm ready to go. Exactly.
I'm in.
And you built more trust from that time. And Anik, I'll tell you this, and we'll segue out of it. But I do want to say one more thing, because I think this is important too. And if people are listening to this and they have a sales team and they're like, okay, that's it. I heard it from Anik and Josh. This is going to convert better. Let's go, baby.
No.
Well, I want to tell you this. There is a skill set to it like anything else. There is training that is required, because I will say, if you have a super non-compliant sales team, and I have seen this happen multiple times as well, and you come in and you're like, lay the law, this is what you're doing now, your conversions will drop heavily, because you have, to what you said, Anik, it's like, well, you have to sell the methodologies. That's something that I took out of what you just said. Well, what does that mean? It means you need to differentiate more. It means you need to get more strategic and more clarity on who your right fit customer is. Because you're not just selling based on the money they're going to make from it, as one example. And so, can it convert better? Can it create a better customer? I think absolutely it can, but not by just flipping a switch. You have to know how to roll it out compliantly and train your team on those skill sets.
When I spoke to Josh, and Josh, you don't know this, but when we first talked and you're like, oh, we're compliant, I'm like, there we go. You know, there we go. You're compliant. No, you're not. And I had such a repulsive reaction to it, but then you started talking 3 levels deeper. We weren't talking about what we say, what we don't say. We're good people. We deliver. We vet our clients, blah, blah, blah. No, you were like 3 levels deeper. You're like, hey, we talk about who the right person is, and we talk about why someone does something, and why our product. You just had all the right questions. I want to go 1 level deeper, though, of what you said. Most people listening right now are going to get inspired and try to flip their funnel to from non-compliant to compliant. Good luck. You're going to get destroyed. It's going to absolutely eradicate your conversions. You're going to hate me. You're going to hate Josh. You're going to hate the fact that you listen to this podcast. You'll never come back, and you're going to say, we're all bullshit. And pause. Here's the thing. So when a client comes to me, we deal with this all the time. They say, I want to go compliant. I'm like, do you? And then they're like, look at my sales piece. And Greg used to do this to me all the time. He used to piss me off. Hey, Greg, is this sentence compliant? Give me the context. I need the whole thing. No, I don't want to give you the whole thing, Greg. You'll take 5 hours to respond. I just want to know now, 5 minutes. He's like, I got to understand the context. And I send him the whole video. He's like, well, what did they see before this? I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls. What is up with you? Like, just tell me if this is compliant or not. Here's why. So I sat down with someone. This is a true story. If they're listening, they're going to laugh. It was 2 weeks ago. I want to go compliant. They do about 20 million a year. And I'm like, and in my heart, I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, you want to, but like, dude, you're not ready for the journey that it will be, because I know how you sell. I know the mantra of your company. I know how you are. You're a go, money, make the money. Like, I do your incentive systems in your company, your team meetings. I've witnessed them. Like, it's all great. Hoorah. Everyone makes a lot of money, but holy hell, that is not an environment set up for compliant sales processes. I have to get philosophical with the person. I literally have to have like a who am I, what am I question. And I'm worse than Greg now. Like, people hate me even more because Greg at least is asking for context of the pitch. I'm saying, what are you about? What's your business about? What type of customers do you want? What kind of impact do you want to create? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And people get so frustrated. I'm like, I'm not just giving you consultative bullshit. Let me explain it to you in a very practical way why this is important. For me to go compliant and do well with it, I had to fundamentally, completely change the type of customer I want. And what that meant was changing the mission, the ethos of the company, how I talk to my employees, how I write my marketing, how I create my products, how I run my ads, the audiences I attract, the way I price. It is a system-wide shift that has to occur. Then you get to see the benefit of compliant marketing, and you can't flip a switch for a system-wide change. That change is going to take months. It's going to be a transition. There's going to be pain. You're going to have to swallow some of the downtimes. I was forced into it. I didn't have a choice, so I had to swallow those downtimes. But when I arose out of it, I go, oh my God, I would never. Today, if there was a magic wand waved the FTC stuff went away, and I was given this like protective layer. I'm like, I could never be sued by the FTC ever again. I can say whatever the hell I want. I literally would not go back to what we were doing.
Yep.
And so the way this works is everyone will remember this, okay? Just remember my arm up and down like this, okay? There is a down market in every market, and there's an up market in every market. And I'm not saying this in any derogatory way. If you're a down market, it's just someone who's less experienced, less knowledgeable, more vulnerable, more less patient. They just don't know enough about something to make a good decision about it, right? I don't understand crypto, and this is why I buy the stupidest coins, and I've stopped now, right? And I lost a lot of money because I was just investing in things I don't understand, because I was down market. I'm a down market crypto guy. You know where I'm up market? In business. You try to sell me a business or try to get me into business, and I will ask you 30 questions. I'll get deep into it. I'll read your financials. I'll look at what you've done. I'll talk to your team members. I can dissect a business like this, right? Because I'm up market. It's something I know a lot about. I invest wiser in it. So when you sell to down market, you sell non-compliantly, because the person you're talking to is like, I got to pay my mortgage next month. I got to make some money, man. Oh, this guy said I can use the internet. I'll make some money, right? And then we feed into that message. I will never forget this. I'm on a podcast one time, and the person asked me something, and they said, they're not from our industry. I was on this like random podcast. Like, they're like, what? It's a really random question. I was like, all right, I'll play. I said, I don't like how impatient they are. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, it takes time. Like, they want success right away. And you know what he looks at me? This is years ago. He looks at me and he goes, real confusion in his eyes. And he goes, but isn't that what you tell him? And I just shut up right there. I was like, damn, he's right. Like, if I watch my presentation, their expectations are a direct result of what I'm saying. And so when you go compliant, down market, conversions plummet. Because those people are looking for something different, and they are the least likely to take action on it. They're the least likely to get results. They're the most vulnerable. They're the ones that the FTC and other regulators want to protect the most. They're the ones that are going to take out the loans and put things in debt that's not good. It's not smart decision making. When you go up market, you're talking to people that are more wiser on that topic. They're most likely to take action on it. They're the most likely to get good results. They'll never leave you. You know what? If they get results with you, they're not going to be on a sales call with another team and another company, because they're going to invest more with you. They're the most likely to talk well about you. They're the least likely to file complaints, refunds, chargebacks, and get you in hot water. But you know what the upmarket hates? They hate the hype. As they say, right the hell through it, right?
Yep.
So
you know what you reminded me of, Anik, too, is this was years ago as well, and I went into this consulting engagement. And to boil down what this client wanted was they wanted to figure out how to change lead quality. They're like, why can I not get, a qualified lead to save my life? And I was like, well, what's the problem? Just describe it to me. And this was a wholesaling offer, right? Real estate wholesaling. And they said, well, like, they don't have any freaking money. They don't have any credit. Like, they have zero financial capability, and they expect like the world on a shoestring, right? And I was like, okay, well, let's look at the marketing. And it's literally being marketed as, you don't need any money, any credit, any education to start doing deals. And so it was so funny because like they were directly, I was like, dude, I got good news and bad news. The good news is your marketing is incredibly successful. You're getting exactly what you want. The bad news is you're getting exactly who you want, because that's who they're marketing to, and that's what they're describing.